Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fuel for Thought podcast. Today, we will be discussing Imola 2024 and what we thought of the race.
Indeed. God, that was almost a certified banger, wasn't it?
Almost. I feel like the first half was a bit like, eh.
Yeah, but it certainly brought out some drama. It was nice, as a brief overview, that the Red Bulls were not quite so far and away better than everyone else, even though it kind of looked like it was going that way at the start.
Of the
Max
race,
was sort of
yeah.
like 6 seconds ahead of everyone.
I feel like the start of the weekend, not so much, but the start of the race, yes.
But yeah, ended up being quite entertaining, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
And, as much as we complained about the Red Bull dominance, that build-up of monotony and anticipation certainly makes these moments a lot more exciting than if they were to happen every time across the length of a season. So I suppose there's ups and downs to it all. But yeah, I certainly appreciated the good watch this weekend.
Yeah, it was actually nice to see someone fight Max Verstappen for the lead. I think obviously it's exciting when Max DNF'd obviously and Carlos won.
Yeah. It was like
that was kind of a different excitement.
There was another winner because Max wasn't able to participate, fight for it, and it's like we want someone else to win, but we want them to fight Max for it.
Exactly, and it was quite exciting to see that Lando was chasing Max down.
Yeah, well, yeah. We can't really use the word fight because there was no really an attempt at an overtake, unfortunately. That's really what it would have kind of tipped over the edge, I think.
Yeah, if there was a few more laps, it would have been very exciting to see what would have happened.
We were kind of teased with it, but it was sort of too little too late.
Yeah.
Really. But no, good stuff. So, let's go from the start. They kept saying there's a 100% chance of a safety car here, only because there's been safety cars every single time.
Yeah.
I don't know, that phrase really...
I was thinking that. They said it a couple of times, and I was like you can't say there's a 100% chance of a safety car.
Yeah, that means it definitely happens. It's like, no, that's not how it works, but that's just my brain.
I know that obviously some racetracks are more prone to having safety cars from previous experience, but statistics are statistics. Like, they don't actually mean anything towards like what's actually going to happen. Yeah, exactly. It literally makes no difference.
Yeah. It's so silly to get annoyed over, but also it's like when you say something is 100% possibility, it means the possibility of it not happening is absolutely zero. Yeah. And it's never going to not happen.
Crazy. It seems like a miracle happened then, because no safety car.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do understand why they were predicting it, because they did move the gravel tracks.
Yeah, I suppose it was a narrative that they could really focus on.
Yeah.
And be like, there's going to be a safety car. Just watch out for that. Watch out for the strategies.
Yeah.
But... yeah, the gravel trap, as you mentioned it, that was nice to see, I think, from a racing perspective.
Yeah.
I think a lot of sort of the racing purists would say every track should be like that. Every run-off zone should be gravel to stop this silly going off track, pushing the limits. It's like if you go off, you go in the gravel, and that's it.
I do think the gravel kind of stops some of the bigger crashes as well, though, because that's probably why there was because a couple of people did go off in the gravel, but they managed to save the car because they didn't spin off in the concrete and crash into the wall.
Well, Hamilton went off in the gravel.
Yeah, so did Perez.
Yeah, and Leclerc went off onto the grass on the same chicane that he crashed on a couple of years ago. So I bet that was a bit of like, ooh.
Yeah, not again. But it was, I quite like the gravel traps, and I think they should implement them more.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it stops this silly... Kevin Magnussen-esque of like shoving other drivers off track because, I suppose you can still be aggressive, but people are a lot more careful with how aggressive they are, I suppose. But yeah, it wasn't without incident, this race. So, the one that comes to mind is Alex Albon.
Yes.
His tyre wasn't fitted correctly.
I was watching them because they replayed the pit stop, and it did look like the front right
it wobbled slightly.
Yeah, wobbled a little bit.
But it was so hard to see.
Yeah.
It must have been like, half a turn or whatever not on.
Ruined his race.
Oh, 100%. Especially because he got a drive-through penalty. Which I'm sure actually, considering it put him a lap behind from near the start of the race, what lap was it, like lap 9 or something?
It was quite, yeah. Yeah, he must have pitted quite early compared to everyone else.
Maybe it was like lap 13 or something. But yeah, so that his race was already ruined. And so I'm sure Williams probably prefer that over a fine, because he got a hefty penalty, a 10-second stop-and-go penalty, I think it was. So he had to come into the pits, stop for 10 seconds, and they can just take that without any consequence, and it doesn't carry over to the next race. And then I think they just retired the car eventually to save the mileage. So
yeah, they can't really afford the fine. They need all the money they can get into making sure they have all these spare parts. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because his race was ruined from that incident. So it was like, well, he can have the 10-second time penalty. Mm-hmm. But obviously that then brings in the debate of, is that enough? Do you know what I mean? Because do you remember that time Perez had a time penalty? He basically retired the car, put the car back on track, took the penalty, and then retired the car again. That was silly.
Yeah, there needs to be a rule to prevent that. I think this was less egregious than that was.
True.
Because they stayed out, at least.
Yeah, at least they stayed. I feel like, retiring the car and then unretiring the car.
Yeah.
I didn't, until that incident with Perez, didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. No, me neither. I do wonder if there should be a rule saying, well, one, once you've retired the car, you can't unretire it. Mm-hmm. That's silly. And two, if you retire the car, you should have to prove that there's a reason why you've retired it, and not just to save mileage on your engine. Otherwise, you get a penalty. I
think that's a good one.
Yeah, because it just seems silly otherwise. It's like, oh, I'm not going to get any points. I'm just going to give up. It's like there should be de-incentives to not do that.
Yeah.
Or incentives not to do that.
Yeah, they should definitely implement something like that. Or like if you pull your car into the actual garage, you're out. You can't come back in.
Mm. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I think, out of common sense move, like, it didn't look like it was dangerous. And it obviously wasn't Albon's fault. It was just a freak sort of accident. So probably...
It was probably only not on like a little bit, but obviously because of the speed of the car, you'll be able to tell straight away. But I can't imagine it was going to fall off.
I don't think anyone's upset with the outcome. Let's just say that.
No.
But speaking of Williams, did you see who was meeting with Williams this weekend? Who was spotted coming out of their hospitality?
No.
Valtteri, it's James.
Oh.
Valtteri Bottas.
Really?
Yeah.
Back to Williams, you think?
Why not? He's worked with James Vowles. James Vowles used to be his race engineer at Mercedes. So
maybe he was just having a little cup of tea.
Maybe.
With James Vowles.
Maybe they were talking
a little catch up
about cycling or skinny dipping or something.
Maybe. Or giving him the race seat for next season.
It makes sense as a move.
It makes sense because especially if Sauber are looking at signing Carlos.
Well, they've already expressed that they're not interested in keeping either driver once they become Audi.
Yeah.
And they're getting rid of one driver anyway for Hülkenberg.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we know which one it is, but it's like Bottas probably sees the writing on the wall. It's not as if Kick Sauber is a great team anyway at the moment this season. So, and Williams obviously on an upward trajectory with good leadership. So
they've got their 5-year plan or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I saw it today. And I was like, oh,
that's
exciting.
Sense. Yeah. That would be really
Old
nice.
Colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
Valtteri and Alex being teammates.
And I think at this point, there's no chance of Logan keeping his seat.
No. Do you know what? I was watching qualifying and I was like, wow, Logan's actually... I know he's out in Q1, but he's actually P17. Then his lap time got deleted. Then he went down to P20.
Yeah. And
I was like, classic.
In the race, it just looked like he was letting cars by for fun.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I think at one point Yuki overtook him, and then straight away Hülkenberg overtook him.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think this is his final season, second season, his final season.
It seems so, unfortunately for him.
Yeah. I think even the fact that he's bringing in some American sponsors isn't enough anymore.
No, it's like Americans love winning, generally, I think, as a culture. So for someone to represent them, a driver like how he's performing, probably, doesn't fill them with great pride, I imagine.
Yeah. It's a shame, really.
Try to choose my words carefully because I mean with all the best intentions. But unfortunately, the performances just haven't been there for him because, he seems like a decent chap.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be nice to see him do a little bit better, but
it
seems like he's probably going to get replaced.
Yeah, I always feel sad when this happens to drivers, but obviously it's their opportunity to show.
And obviously, I've said it before, this isn't, baby's first karting race. This is like the top of a sport. It's cutthroat. Yeah. It has to be. Like top 20 guys in the world, and if you're not one of them, then it's got to be brutal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's no longer the top of anything.
Yeah, so. And there's plenty of other drivers out there waiting for their turn, like Ollie Behrman, Felipe Drogovic. He won F2, and he's just sitting in the sidelines.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the race.
Yes, who do you want to talk about next? Should we talk about Perez?
Sure, yeah, I know you have some opinions about his performance this weekend.
Well, he crashed out in free practice and gave the engineers free practice 3, so a couple of hours before qualifying.
Not the first time this season he's had incidents like that.
Gave the engineers 2 hours to fix his car. Then he thanked them by not getting into Q3. And qualifying P11. And didn't really make much headway in the race.
Well, I mean, the amount we've criticised Mercedes this season for their performance going backwards year by year and not being where they're supposed to be and just not giving their drivers a car to compete, you couldn't even overtake them.
Yeah.
Like, George Russell had the opportunity to make a full pit stop with the longest pit lane of the season, making it the longest pit stop of the season, and still finish ahead of him.
Yeah, he came out about 1.5 seconds in front of him.
Yeah.
I know he was on fresher tyres and he had the clean air in front of him, so obviously he had that benefit.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, Perez was not even in his side mirrors.
With the performance differential of that Red Bull this season compared to the Mercedes this season, he shouldn't be letting those cars overtake him.
Absolutely not.
And I know that we saw by the end that the Red Bull was not, way, way better, as it usually is, than other teams such as McLaren and Ferrari. But even so, just because they're a bit closer doesn't mean he can go that far backwards.
I think the more that the other cars kind of match Red Bull's performance, the more the cracks will show in Perez's.
It's going to expose him.
Exactly. And people may say, well, he started P11, so he did a good job getting into the points. He shouldn't have started P11 in a Red Bull. I know the Red Bull, it wasn't at its peak this weekend.
Max still got pole though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know Max is Max, but even so, the second Red Bull driver shouldn't be in that situation.
Well, that's the argument as well. He's the second driver. Okay, he's not going to be Max Verstappen. But as a second Red Bull driver, you need to be putting in the performances to get in P2s, P3s every single time.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what we kind of been saying about Perez is he has these weekends where, he'll be consistent and then boom, P11 in qualifying, finishes behind, the top end of the field or behind sort of some drivers he should be finishing ahead of. And so I just wonder if this will be his last season in Red Bull.
I think it will be.
Well, if he carries on like this, there's a long way to go in this season.
Yeah. But even last season, he was it didn't make Q3 in a few races.
Well, and also it was touch and go. He was fighting Hamilton for P2 in the championship.
Yeah.
Which should never have happened.
No. Especially with that Mercedes.
Because Mercedes wasn't even the second best car. No. And that's credit to Hamilton for that performance actually last season. I think people forget how good he actually was over the course of the season last year. But
yeah. I mean, even I sometimes forget how good he was last year because,
it was just consistent podiums like him and Alonso. Alonso more the first half of the season.
Yeah.
But
just not good from Perez. I can't see him in that Red Bull next season.
No, I mean, the only reason I can probably see it is if they don't give Sainz one season, before the new regulations is because it's the last year before the new regulations,
Yeah.
and they might just be like, you know what, Perez, if you finish P2 this year, we'll just keep you on for the last year, and then we'll just release you or sell you or whatever.
I don't know. I feel like if the cars are starting to match each other a bit more, they would want a better driver in that Red Bull.
True. But yeah.
Talking about Alonso though.
Oh God, yeah.
He had a shocker of a weekend.
Yes. Did you mention that he crashed out? He also crashed out in practice, didn't he?
Yeah. So he also gave his engineers a couple of hours to fix his car.
Unlike him.
Yeah.
Really.
And then he qualified P20 before obviously Logan Sargent lost his lap.
Yeah, I think they said that it's the second time in his whole career that he's been the slowest driver in qualifying.
Wow.
And I think obviously if Sargent lost his lap, that probably doesn't remain true.
Yeah.
But
then he started in the pit lane.
Well, yeah, because
may as well.
They had to brake park for May to, change a part or whatever, and automatically push him in the pit lane. But yeah, he said it was just like getting data because there's no way they were going to get points. But so I think they were just it was a testing run for them. So they can't really judge his performance beyond the crash.
Yeah,
and qualifying.
Lance Stroll managed to get points this weekend, but debatable whether he would have if Alonso was up there instead.
Well, he should be getting points, I think.
He should be, yeah.
Sort of getting P8, P9, P10 every week.
Yeah, I would say the Aston Martin's kind of on par for the fifth fastest.
Probably fifth fastest now, I think. But
yeah, Mercedes have taken some steps forward, I would say.
Small steps.
But yeah.
Speaking of them, a little bit of controversy with Mercedes where they pitted George, put him behind Hamilton, and so he can get the fastest lap. And they were, he lost position, but overall the team benefited by getting one extra point.
Yeah. But they said the data showed that his tyres won't make it to the end, but I don't know about that.
I don't know. He might have made it to the end.
Other people did one stops.
Yeah, but I mean, and a lot of comments online were really not very nice about him actually.
What, George?
Because obviously George complained saying, I'm giving up position here, can he swap back? And obviously they said no, because their argument was, you've cooked your tyres, so we have to pit you either way. And Lewis is going to catch you if we don't anyway, so... but yeah, not very sort of popular at the moment for some reason, George.
I feel like people are always slating George for something.
Yeah.
And I don't like it, but...
Yeah, people were like, oh, just because he's cooked his tyres, blah, blah. They're always complaining, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why anything wrong with complaining about that from his perspective.
I
He's
agree.
Ahead.
And also, I'm guarantee every single driver probably complains all the time in their team radios, but obviously just because that one was shared with people, and then people are complaining about George.
Yeah. No, I don't like this overwhelming hate against George because
me neither.
He's not really done anything controversial ever. He's just...
I don't think he's done anything that other drivers haven't done as well.
I think it's just because he's a bit, I don't know, is cringy the right word in some of the things he says off track?
Yeah, but
that's just his personality.
Exactly.
It's not like, he doesn't say anything to anger people.
No. He's just like that kind of, it's just his personality.
He just doesn't have the charisma of Charles or Lando.
But that's fine. And also, I appreciate that he doesn't try to be like them.
No, he's likeable in his own way.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, but
yeah.
So
he's just very British.
Yeah.
Some people don't like the British.
Yeah.
But I obviously support him.
Yes.
My second, joint first favourite driver.
I'm trying to think who else is worth mentioning. I think Yuki Tsunoda is probably worth
definitely
a mention.
He had a great weekend.
Great qualifying.
Yeah.
And Ricciardo as well, actually qualifying in the top 10.
Yes, he did. Oh, thank God. That's what I was like, I really hope Perez actually doesn't make Q3 because that means Ricciardo does.
But Yuki outperformed Daniel this whole weekend.
Yeah, he did.
So I feel like, still question marks on Ricciardo.
Yeah.
If Yuki is doing better than him. So, but he was doing really well the first part of the race and then he kind of fell backwards a bit, I think.
Yeah. It's a shame. I feel like Ricciardo is improving. But I don't know.
I was talking about Tsunoda.
Oh, Tsunoda.
Yeah, he
fell
did
off.
really well at the start.
Yeah. I mean, he had some good overtakes. And he finished in the points.
Yeah.
Which is great for RB.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
Definitely. I think RB are probably about the sixth best team this season.
They are. They have got like 20 points or something. And then Haas below them have like 7.
Probably mostly from Nico Hulkenberg.
I think all from Nico Hulkenberg.
Oh, really? Is it? Okay.
And I think that's it. I think I saw it at a table earlier. I might be wrong, but yeah. So there's a decent gap at the moment. But yeah. Should we move on to predictions?
Yeah, let's do
see
it.
how we did.
I don't know about this one.
Let's see if I remember what I said.
Right. So qualifying. Carlos Sainz P3, Max Verstappen P2, and Charles Leclerc P1.
Yeah, I said that too.
Yeah, we said the same thing,
we
actually.
did.
Which, during free practice, Ferrari were looking the fastest car on track.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent, I don't know, I think Ferrari and McLaren were kind of on par this weekend with their speed. It's just in their race pace was, I don't know.
McLaren were better race pace.
McLaren were better. Charles had the potential to get pole from what he showed in free practice.
He did, and wasn't he did no, that was Oscar, wasn't it? Oscar did the fastest lap of the entire qualifying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Max got a toe. That's why Max got pole.
The fastest lap wasn't a toe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did so well. It's just a shame he got that penalty.
Oscar, yeah.
So he started in P5, which I think contributed to him finishing P4.
Yes.
Ahead of Sainz.
Yeah, true.
Probably would have challenged for the podium, I think. Almost certainly, actually, if he'd started in P2 where he was.
I feel like he is showing good performance. It's just not really working out for him.
He was quicker than Sainz.
Yeah.
Well, like by far, like the first stint, he was all out the back of him.
Yeah.
He just couldn't quite make the overtake happen. Yeah. It was difficult to overtake on this track. But
yeah, because Sainz had some DRS from Charles, like for a few laps.
Yeah.
So that probably didn't help Oscar. But yeah, it's a shame Ferrari kind of didn't show what they showed in free practice.
Yeah, but the McLarens, P2 and P3 on the day in qualifying. So good pace in Q3, obviously. And it got promoted to P2. And Charles Leclerc was P3.
Yeah.
So
no, not right.
Not right.
Not right at all. Then for the race, I put P3 Oscar Piastri, and it could have happened. I think at the time I was like,
Probably would have happened.
Yeah, I think at the time when I put this, I was like, I'll just throw it out there. Because I had a feeling that because he'd got the McLaren upgrades, he would have a faster car. Like, he would obviously match kind of Lando's speed from last race.
Well, he kind of did, really, for a lot of it. Yeah.
So that was, I threw that out there, and I think I was relatively accurate. It's just, as you said, just a shame he got that penalty. Who'd you put in P3?
Perez. Yeah, completely wrong.
Yeah.
I put Perez, Sainz, Leclerc. I thought, you know, it was a fairy tale lineup for.
Yeah. I mean, I got the teams right. I put Oscar, Charles, Max. Got Max right, obviously.
Yeah.
Moved Charles down, moved Lando in there.
Yeah. But I didn't put Max up there because one of my bold predictions was Max would get hit on the first lap.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't happen. So, but I mean, if that had happened, we wouldn't have got that fight at the end. So
Fight.
Well, yeah, that chase at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then bold predictions. Obviously, I just said my first one.
So one of mine was 2 cars with the same team will DNF. Didn't happen.
No. There was how many DNFs were there?
Just Albon, I believe.
Albon.
What's your second one?
My second one, 2+ safety cars. That was completely wrong.
Well, there was 100% chance of a safety car, and we got no safety cars. My second was Pierre Gasly will score points.
Didn't happen.
No.
Was he like P17 in the end or something?
I don't know.
Don't know either. Yeah.
Definitely wasn't in the points though.
What was your third one?
My third one was George Russell will beat Lewis in all aspects of the weekend. Thank you, Mercedes, because he was
That for
he literally was on track to do that.
He was.
And yeah, then they pitted him for the fastest lap.
Still being quietly consistent, that George Russell.
Yeah, he is.
I think Mercedes will do well to keep him.
I agree. I think in theory, I don't know. I think they were quite even this weekend, George and Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would have won that if obviously that didn't happen.
I got all my bold predictions, but like massively wrong.
Okay.
Third one was Norris will have a poor qualifying after his win. Well, he didn't, did he?
No, he didn't.
He qualified P2. So
That's poor. He should have qualified in pole.
yeah.
Well, is that your third one?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think it's very exciting to see where the season's going now.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was calling me delusional for saying like, oh, well, Lando won't get the World Championship.
Listen. Look at the points. Okay.
It's still possible.
It's mathematically possible, but let's not get too excited yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some kind of calculation if Max got P2 and a couple of races and I don't know, he would still win. I do understand that, but I don't think it's like delusional to think that.
No, it's not. It's being optimistic, and it's also like, you know, being a hopeful fan.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
There.
Thank you.
Teams to win, don't they?
Yeah, and I think he's always showing his potential, and he's being given the car that he's been waiting for. So we'll see how the season goes.
Norris is Arsenal.
What? Oh, Norris Arsenal. Let's not mention football because I might get a lot of people who hate me. But
yeah, but people wouldn't like that comparison.
No.
I just meant because...
I mean, I don't like that comparison because I don't support Arsenal.
No, I don't either. I just meant because at the moment he's the second best driver on the grid. Behind Manchester Verstappen.
Lovely. Love that.
Anyway, I think Monaco is coming around at the right time.
Yeah.
Because it's when McLaren and Lando are on the up and a lot closer to Red Bull. Mm-hmm. And if they manage to sneak a pole, then there's a good chance they'll win it.
It is exciting. Monaco is exciting. Like, Monaco is the race. We'll go into this more in our Monaco podcast.
That's a bold statement saying Monaco is exciting.
I think, what about Monaco? I won't go into... I'll save a lot of this for the Monaco podcast.
Yeah.
But Monaco is just such an event because it's so historic that it is exciting.
Yeah, it's just a shame about the racing most of the time.
Yeah.
But
the cars are just too big now. But anyway, we'll save this.
Yeah.
I think we should mention...
So hope it rains again.
What?
Hope it rains again.
Oh, yeah. Rainy Monaco. We should mention that Crofty wasn't the commentator this race.
It was, what's his name? Harry something.
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember his last name.
Let's look it up because I don't want to not give him...
Well, I know his name was Harry.
His name is Harry.
He, I think, did a good job. There wasn't really any noticeable like flubs or blunders or anything like that. His flow was pretty good. Him and Karun's chemistry, I think, left a little bit to be desired, but that's to be expected because they don't work with each other week in, week out. They don't have that flow that you would naturally have if you worked together all the time. But apart from that, decent.
I think if you turned it on and you don't really watch F1 that much, you wouldn't really have noticed.
But if you were to say, like, this is the future voice of F1, you wouldn't be mad about that.
No, you wouldn't. His name's Harry Benjamin.
Oh, there you go. Harry Benjamin. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You said that he normally commentates in F2, don't you?
I think so.
With,
I recognise his voice.
Alex Brundle.
Yeah, I might be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I recognise his voice. Either that or he does the alternative commentary. You know, the one that appears on the highlights. And I think it's probably the one that's like
from F1 TV.
Yeah, I think.
Don't know.
The one they use on like the Channel 4 highlights and that.
Okay.
Again, might be completely wrong.
Yeah.
So they haven't checked that at all. But yeah, best guess. But yeah, anything else you want to mention before we wrap this bad boy up?
No.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll wrap it up there because we've got another race to look forward to this coming weekend.
Yep.
The Monaco Grand Prix.
Woo!
And you never miss the Monaco Grand Prix.
No, never. If anyone's seen Friday Night Dinner, they know that. But it's the Monaco Grand Prix.
Right. Well, we'll catch everyone for the predictions build-up podcast for Monaco. That'll be exciting. You know, we've got lots to talk about. McLaren have just released a new livery. We'll talk about that.
Wow, yeah. We'll talk about that in the next one.
But yeah, thanks for listening. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.